I just got back from my game, and it's been 6 hours. I have played chess for 6 hours. My brain is right now so fried, but I played an absolutely crazy game today. I am right now in Stockholm, Sweden, which is where I am all the time because I live here. But I'm here now because I'm playing a chess tournament. I'm back competing in chess, and I'm playing Rilton, which is a super big chess tournament here with, grandmasters and international masters and lots of players from all over the world. But I am playing in the under 2200 section, and this is my favorite tournament of the year. It's like Christmas is not Christmas for me without Rilton. So I'm very happy that I'm here competing. And today I was playing round number 2, and I was facing a Finnish guy, and his name was Teemu Mettinen. I don't know if this is better than my French one yesterday. I am so sorry to all my opponents this whole tournament. But he was rated 1872, and coming into the game, I felt like this was going to be easy, which is a terrible thing to think. But I thought, you know what, I'm playing with the white pieces. This guy is rated 200 points less than me. He's not an underrated kid. I mean, my opponent was like 50 years old. So I thought, this would be nice and easy. But no, chess is never nice and easy. And whenever you start thinking that it is, that's when things go downhill. Game was absolutely crazy. So let me go ahead and show it to you. I started with d4. I had the white pieces, and he went d6. Now this kind of surprised me. I didn't think he was going to play d6. But I played c4, and then he went e5, and this is the idea of this. Now, I didn't want to take because then, this is not that good for white to take, so I simply pushed up my pawn one step. Now, at this point, I looked absolutely crazy because I realized that I had forgotten to press record on my camera. So I was like playing my moves, but I was like looking around the playing hall because I was trying to find an arbiter because I wanted to ask him if it was okay for me to approach my camera and press record, which I wanted to ask because, it is a device, and for anti-cheating measures, you shouldn't be touching a device during a chess game, obviously. So I had the fair play arbiter walk with me to the camera. I pressed record, and then he gave me a thumbs up, and everything was good. But my opponent was probably like, what is this girl doing? We're literally at move number 2, and she's looking around the whole playing hall, what is she up to? But that was the reason for it. So he went f5, and I remembered that I had played a game against an Icelandic grandmaster where I had played e4. And the idea of e4 is just simply that I want to play e4. I do not need to go knight c3 first and defend this pawn. No. Whenever he captures my pawn, I will always be able to get this pawn back. So I went knight c3, but I didn't really know a lot of theory here. I haven't really played this apart from the one time I played it against an Icelandic GM. And let me tell you, I had an equal position until move 25, and I was so proud. I was very proud because he's 2600. Okay, I was very proud. So I remember this, and I was like, if I can get an equal position versus a 2600, I can beat an 1800. That was my way of thinking. Here I was thinking either bishop g5 to pin the knight, or just simply developing. And I thought developing would be better, so I went knight e2 to put my knight on g3. Just to target this pawn, because I do want to get the pawn back. I'm not giving him a pawn for free. We don't give free things in chess. I'm going to get this pawn back, right? It's just that I'm developing my pieces at the same time, and he's not going to be able to defend it. So I went bishop g6, and I went bishop g5, pinning the knight. Now I'm immediately threatening to capture this pawn, and I thought if I capture this pawn and get my bishop up to d3, I will be a very happy girl. So he went bishop e7, and now I thought for 20 minutes. And I'm a little bit mad at myself for doing that, but the reason I did it was because I knew that this moment would change the course of the game. I could do two things right now. The first option, which was the option that I thought I was going to go for, was to just simply capture this knight, and then after he captures back with the bishop, to take this pawn with something, like for instance with this knight. And then, you know, just play out this position. Bishop d3, castles, very nice and comfortable position for me. The other option that I had, and the option that I ended up going for in the game, was to go h4 and just say, hey, I am not going to castle kingside. I am going to completely try to dominate the light squares, and I'm just going to make my king weak forever. But he actually has some problems too, and apparently this was the best move in the position, and that makes me very happy that I saw it. So I'm really happy that I was able to go with, like, you know, that I was able to like push, and I was feeling very confident here. So after this, I took a little break, I went up to the bathroom, I grabbed a coffee, I grabbed the water, and I was feeling fantastic. I was like, this is a very nice opening that I got. So he went h5, which when he did it, I was like, you can do this? Like, is this pawn not going to become super weak? But apparently you could. Apparently you could do it, and apparently it's the best move, which I didn't know. I didn't think he was going to go h5. So I captured on f6 because I thought if I don't do it now, then I will not be able to do it in a while. I captured, and he captured with the pawn, which I was also not really expecting, to be honest, but it is the best move. And now I went bishop e2. Now, here, I already thought the position was very complicated because I'm targeting this h5 pawn, but after he goes f5, he's targeting my h4 pawn. So the whole thing is just a big mess with pawns being targeted, and I am a pawn down right now, so I do need to make sure that I get my material back. But I realized that after bishop takes h5, I would just be getting the pawn, and he wouldn't really have time to take this right now. So takes. If he takes now my pawn, then I believe I have knight g7 check. And after the king moves up, I can just simply go knight, well, I can go knight e6 or knight takes f5. Knight takes f5, I think, is the better move. So I have both of those moves that I can do, but it's a very complicated position. But he did not enter all of that. Instead, after knight takes h5, he went for this little move, rook h7, to stop my knight from coming up to g7. This, however, is a mistake. In this position, and this was probably the position that, you know, changed the course of the whole game, I am better. And the reason I'm better is because I have this move, g4, which is just very strong. And I saw this move, and I was kind of like thinking, should I go for it? But I ended up not going for it. And the reason I didn't go for it was because I just thought that after like bishop takes h4, g takes f5, and queen g5, I thought this was a little bit unclear. But what I missed is that I have knight takes e4, and after he captures here, I have knight f6 winning the queen because he cannot capture back. And I missed this in my calculations. So I didn't really consider g4. I thought g4 was just maybe a little bit too crazy, but apparently it's the best move here. Instead, I spent 30 minutes thinking about a move that I really wanted to make work. And this is a very typical story in chess. You see a move, you really want to make it work, and instead of figuring out if it works or not, you force it to work. It must work because you've already spent so much time thinking about it. If it doesn't work, you've literally wasted 30 minutes of your life. You cannot waste time in your life. It must work. So I did an absolutely crazy move, and I sacrificed a piece. The last time I sacrificed a piece in a classical game was so long ago. I don't sacrifice pieces in games. Like, I do it in Blitz, but not in classical because I just get too scared. But I literally just went knight takes e4 and sacrificed the piece.
So what did Anna do? She took on the e4. Oh, she played knight take e4. Oh.
Now this apparently is a mistake, but it's only a mistake if he plays the absolute best, and this is still very tricky. So obviously he took, and the idea is to go queen g4. And the idea here is that this is actually really pretty. He only has, he pretty much only has a few moves. Like, if he goes something like, for instance, rook h8, I'm just going to show you this. There's just going to be a checkmate after king e8, knight g7, queen g6, there's going to be knight e6. So this doesn't work. Literally any other move right now like this, I'm threatening right now queen g6 check. Like, all of this, it just does not work. And now there's knight g7, and after king f8, I win the queen. Like, all of these moves, they don't work. My opponent has to go king f7 or king f8. The best move here is to go king f7. Now, I thought that going king f7 or king f8 was the same because I was already thinking that I was going to reply with queen g6 with this position, because I had analyzed some crazy lines of, I thought rook f7 here is the only move, and I had like seen all of this, and then I was going to go queen h6 check, king here, and I thought here that I could go rook h3, because I saw that if bishop takes h4, there's knight g3, and if you take, you lose the game, and if you go back, there's knight f5 winning the game. You know, I was looking at all these crazy lines, but it was very complicated. But apparently here there's this, and it becomes perpetual after taking here. Queen takes f2, this becomes a perpetual. But this whole position was just very messy and very complicated. But actually, my opponent, after queen g4, did not go king f7. He went king f8. And this gave me a chance to do a move that I did not see during the game, which was f4. Now, I didn't consider it during the game. I thought that I was in a bigger hurry than this. I thought maybe he'll go queen d7, and what do I do then? Well, then apparently I can go queen g6, because now I'm threatening the rook. This pawn is not hanging anymore. And after rook f7 and g4, even though I'm in piece down right now, I'm actually better. But this, I think, it's very difficult, very difficult. But the idea is just that my 3 pawns over here are very strong. And if he would take here, then I just go castles. And I'm threatening to target this. And if he moves up, well, then I can go, rook e1 and capture this pawn. But this is very difficult. This is very difficult. And I did not see f4 during the game. So I went queen g6. And here, after rook f7, I must take a perpetual with going back and forth. Otherwise, I will just lose the game. However, and the reason I'm losing the game, let me just show it to you, is because after check, this, and rook g3, he actually has rook h7. And now the king is able to escape in the corner. But my opponent did not see this. Instead, after queen g6, he gave back the rook. So now I had a rook for 2 pieces, and I was going to get some pawns, so I thought that I was doing great. Now here, once again, f4 is the best move to try to open up the file, but I just went for some checks. I was already pretty low on time. And here he went knight f6. I decided to bring up my queen, and he went c6, and this was a mistake because it gives me time to go h5. But I was low on time here. I had 4 minutes left. I was shaking. I was like, terrified, because I realized that this is like the start of a new game, but I only have 4 minutes left. So here, instead of going h5, which is what I should have done, and give up this pawn, I ended up taking here, and this is a huge blunder due to queen a5 check. I went king e2, king f1 was slightly better. Like, you're saying this game is such an up and down game. Like, every move that I'm doing, I feel like chess.com is roasting me and saying, bad move, Anna. And every move my opponent does, the engine is saying that it's a bad move. But I think that just shows how complicated and complex this position is. Like, I wanted to go king e2 to, bring up my rooks and have my rooks connected. I still do not fully understand why king f1 is better, I went g4. This, I do get why it was bad. I should probably go h3, h5 here, or go b3. I went g4 because I wanted to give some counterattacks. And now I went g5. And now my opponent, if he does any move but the move that he did, he loses, okay? He just loses because I'll take this pawn. But my opponent, with 3 minutes on the clock, just played a tempo, queen c3, brilliant move. Literally brilliant. And now I am just worse. It's literally like it's my opponent's game now. I have been so slow, my king is so weak, now I'm just worse. And I suppose that's why this is, I guess my king may would have been safer on f1 because I can go up to g2. I'm just worse. And so I really wanted to make it work. I really wanted to capture this knight. But the problem is that if I started by going for this check, which is crucial. If I now capture this knight, he has check. And after this, and I go king c1, he captures, my rook is hanging, he goes e3, and there's nobody saving my king. This king is just completely, this is a disastrous position. It's completely terrible. So I cannot enter this, and lucky enough, I had my, dangerous senses on, like danger senses on, activated, and I realized that I cannot enter that. So I went for g6, and then I brought my queen back just to keep everything defended. But I did this with seconds on the clock. Now here he checked me, I just went back, and he went queen e5. The game has now completely taken a turn, and it is my opponent who's better here. I brought in my rook. You know, here if he goes knight h5, bringing in the knight, it's just terrible for me. Luckily, he went for the check. I went king f1. And now I brought up my rook. Now here, literally, when I did this move, I did it with a second left. Like you can see it on my clock. I have 31 seconds. I get a 30-second increment per move. I made this move like with the second left. Like I looked at my clock, I had 3 seconds. I threw like the rook across the board and I was like, please, 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 I don't want to lose on time. Please let it not be like lost on time. And I saw that I had 31 seconds and I was like, I have never done a move this fast. Like it was actually crazy. So he went queen f3 and I moved back my rook. I realized that I was blundering a pawn, but actually him taking this pawn gets the queen a little bit off the important squares and it gives me some counterplay. So c5 was a bit of a mistake because it locks in his bishop, and now I went for the move g7 just to really, what's the word? Just to really like solidify that pawn. Is that the word? You guys know what I'm trying to say, right? I was just really trying to like, yeah, nobody's taking that pawn away from me. So he went king f7 and I started feeling like I was back in the game now. So I was just making some moves pretty quickly because I wanted to get my 40th move in. And then I went queen e3 here. And here I went rook g5. The idea is that actually if he moves his queen over here, I have rook takes c5. And if he takes back, I have a checkmate. And I thought this was kind of nice. I'm winning a pawn there, actually. And I got really excited about it. But my opponent kind of smiled when I did this. And I was like, oh, he's probably seeing the checkmate. He probably thought that was a funny checkmate. So I could see on his face that he spotted it. And I was like going for all these tricks, hoping that he wouldn't see it. But he did see it. So he ended up here going queen h7. And now the position is completely equal. I was trying to kind of go back and forth. I missed that he had this move, queen e3. The idea here is to activate his queen. I completely missed it. King e2, and then I brought up my king. And now here, he blundered. He went rook b8. And this move, the idea is obviously that he's just targeting my b3 pawn. If I'm not careful, then he's just going to capture my pawn and I will lose a queen. But I have this move, which I found, which is really nice, which is rook f5, pinning the knight. Now, if he captures the pawn, I have a checkmate in one. g8 queen. He cannot do that. If he captures with the queen, I will go g8 queen as well. And after takes, I'll take the queen and just be completely winning. So he cannot capture this anymore. So he did, after this move, he did the only move that was, you know, still trying to like save the game, which was queen c2. And after queen c2, threatening my rook, I had 8 minutes left on the clock, and I thought, the only move I have here is to move the rook. I cannot defend the rook with the queen, then this is going to hang. So I pretty quickly just played rook f4. And after I did it, I looked at, I was like, wait, Anna, what did you just do? Now the queen can go back to h7, which is the only, by the way, it is the only saving move in the whole game because he needs to, I'm threatening right now to promote and after the traits winning his bishop. I thought, what happens if I go king f4? It just looked like such a crazy move to me during the game because, you know, there's so many pieces left and my king is in the center of the board. But this is just winning on the spot. He can just resign here. It's crazy. It's actually just crazy because now no matter what he does, I will be able to win his bishop. So I'll just be able to win, be an exchange up in the endgame and just win. So I was really mad at myself because I immediately realized that I had missed this chance after queen h7. And I realized that after queen h7, I didn't know how to continue. King f4 was my chance to win the game here. And I told him after the game, I was like, you know, I think I can go king f4. And he was like, oh, I think that's crazy. And I was like, yes, but what do you do? And, you know, it works. It works. The first thing I told my mom when I came back to the room was, Mom, is king f4 winning? And she said yes. And I spotted it immediately after, and that's what really hurt, that I immediately spotted it. But the problem here is that now after the queen comes back, my opponent is completely in control of the light squares, and I cannot stop. I cannot, you know, lock the queen in anymore. And he's going to be able to recapture this at some point. I have a really hard time getting back on the G file. So now I traded queens, and I enter this endgame where I am actually just I mean, I shouldn't be able to lose this, but I'm actually just slightly worse here. I thought he was going to go bishop d8 and push this pawn. Instead he pushed here, and I just took and went rook here. And I mean, now I was able to win the pawn, so it was completely, probably impossible to lose this. But still, it was a little bit scary, obviously, because he has more pieces than I do. But after a few more moves, we just went back and forth, and the game became a draw. But it was that key moment of me not going king f4 that was really what changed the whole game. Although, to be honest, earlier on in the game, I could have lost perfectly as well, because one, I got down to 1 second, half a second more and I just lose the game. So that, and also the fact that that I just had a worse position for a big chunk of the game. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the draw. I'm just upset that I couldn't find this really cool move, king f4. It's fascinating. Like, the king is in the center of the board, but it just works. But these things happen, and obviously a draw is much better than losing. I am a little bit upset, obviously, that I drew lower rated with the white pieces, but the important thing is to come back, and tomorrow is a new day. I'll have the black pieces, and I can still do a really good tournament. I can still win the tournament, It's just one draw that I'm kind of letting slip. But I think the important thing is just to focus on the next game, and I'm going to try to play a little bit more solid. I don't need to sacrifice a piece each game. I don't need to make life that difficult for me. But yeah, this is a really long game, 72 moves, played for like 5-6 hours, was super long. I'm completely fried right now. I just finished the game. But what I find the most fascinating about the game is the fact that it had so many different, phases of it. I thought the game was over in the beginning. I thought I was winning after my piece sacrifice, and then a whole new game started. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this. Tomorrow I will be playing round number 3, and hopefully that will go better. Just gotta sleep and restart the day and just completely forget about this and just learn my lessons from this game. I think that's the most important part. So let me know if you've watched, all the way up until here. If you have, then I'm sure you've become an improved chess player by learning lots of lessons. And thank you guys so much for supporting me during my little journey here. I completely love playing over the board, so I'm really happy that I get to do this. If you want to see my full-on game when it was happening live with my mom's commentary, check out my second channel called Anna Cramling Extra. I'll link it in the description box down below, and you can check it out over there. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll be back with round 3 tomorrow. Wish me luck!